Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in to my super chat. Thank you. If you choose to support my voice during this time period, I'm extremely thankful and appreciative. And I'm humbled. So just thank you very, very much. Do you remember, ladies and gentlemen, do you remember a game? It was Nolan Ryan's, one of his last seasons. And it was Nolan Ryan versus Robin Ventura. And it was a very, very famous, I think there was like a brushback pitch, and then Nolan Ryan hit him with a fastball. And it was one of the most iconic. It's hilarious, but at the batter's expense, because Robin Ventura was this young, like he had a record in college. He was like one of the greatest hitters in college history, and then he was a very good player for the White Sox. But he got hit by the legend Nolan Ryan, and he was in his early 20s, and Ryan was in his mid 40s, throwing 100 miles per hour. And he gets hit by the pitch, and he charges the mound. And instead of backing down, Nolan Ryan gets him in a headlock and just obliterates him. Okay? And so Robin Ventura challenged Nolan Ryan, and instead of getting the better of it, he's running full speed, sprinting towards the mound, trying to go after a guy almost twice his age. And Nolan Ryan just gets him in a headlock and starts pounding him. Okay? He just starts pounding him. And that was one of the great, that's a memory, a baseball memory of the 90s that I don't think anyone's going to ever forget. No one's going to forget that. Okay? That is exactly what happens every press briefing. Every intelligence operative that tries to set up and frame Trump. Every Democratic tactic, shady, underhanded tactic against Trump, it doesn't ever work. They never, ever, they can't get him. You have these millennials in the White House press corps, maybe 30, late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, late 20s, early 30s, and they're yelling all the time, and they're like, you know what, and then you still have, ladies and gentlemen, Madam Secretary, you still have Madam Secretary trying to evade and circumvent justice. And you have it right here, people. This is really interesting. Right here, a great article in the National Review. Justice Department declines to support blocking Hillary Clinton deposition. Andrew McCarthy, April 14th, 2020. So, not only do you have the judge in the case saying, yeah, we're not going to, not only do you have the State Department saying, yeah, we're not going to help you, because Judicial Watch wanted to find out why Clinton had servers with top secret intel. And the reason that Clinton had her servers and used private email exclusively was to hide communication. This is not rocket science. Now, Clinton will be the nominee. She could actually become president. You cannot allow conflicting statements to influence your perception of the Clintons. That should never happen. Yes, they engaged in crimes. Yes, she could win the presidency. Why is that difficult to understand? I don't get it. I don't understand. But everybody turns into Harry Carey, another baseball reference. How can she become president? She committed crimes. Because the media The media is an extension of the Democratic Party. You don't see many people in the New York Times or the Washington Post wearing Make America Great Again hats in the cafeteria. You don't see people. If you walked in, if you are a journalist at the Washington Post or the New York Times, or if you're a producer at CNN or MSNBC, dances reluctantly, Trump 2020, thank you. Dances reluctantly, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Dances reluctantly, thank you. Dances reluctantly, thank you so very, very much. Thank you as always. If you are a journalist at the New York Times or the Washington Post, or you're a producer, or you're an anchor, or reporter / activist who masquerades as a host on one of CNN's shows or MSNBC, and you go into the lunchroom with a Make America Great Again hat, and you say, hey, everybody, I'll do my thing, I'm going to go ahead and just, I'll say whatever you want me to say, but I'm actually voting for President Trump. He's a great president. He basically ended America's longest-running military conflict. It is immoral to vote against President Trump. I mean, do you want American soldiers to stay there forever? That is immoral. The moral thing is to vote for President Trump, to end America's endless counterinsurgency conflicts that apparently Bernie Sanders has no problem with. He's voting alongside Max Boot, Bill Kristol, Robert Kagan, every person that served as the intellectual and immoral foundation of Bush's foreign policy, which President Obama furthered with a failed NATO intervention, pushed and backed by Biden and Clinton, who will be the nominee. Clinton will be the nominee. Again, in 2020, she'll lose again. I give her 20% chance of becoming president. Do you think anyone is going to be working very long? Do you think they're going to say, so you, wait a second, you're voting for Trump? Yeah, what's the problem? My job at CNN or MSNBC or the New York Times, the Washington Post, it's not at risk, right? Oh, no, yeah, that's fine, Bob. Yeah, no problem. Just, that hat is nauseating. Can you not wear that while we eat? Oh, my God, can you imagine, Bob? How is he a producer here? Do we have anyone else? You will be let go in a matter of months or weeks. You would not, and I don't have any inside knowledge, but if you work anywhere in media, mainstream, which is all an extension of the Democratic Party, you will not last long. Hollywood, forget about it. If you want money for a movie and you're like, hey, going to a Trump rally, can I have money for my film? You will never, ever, you will be ostracized beyond belief. You will not be able to have a career in media. You will not be able to have a career as a journalist at the New York Times if you are an overt Trump supporter. They will never allow that. So the fact that Clinton can get away with this and still run, or try to get away with this, is not a conflicting statement. The Justice Department now has followed the State Department's lead. This is like a slow boa constrictor or anaconda. President Trump is very patient. I'll give him this. He's a patient man. I'll give Clinton this. He's patient. Clinton and Trump have similar characteristics in terms of their patience and in terms of their quest to succeed or ability to succeed. The difference, though, is that both Clintons, Bill and Hillary, you look at the impeachment, Bill was impeached because of legal statutes that he broke. Lying under oath is a legal statute. He did have relations. I didn't have any relations. What is this? I had no relations. What's the problem? Oh, no. President Trump never needed. He could have fired Mueller. And what he should have done, I mean, I think that what he did ultimately was a good thing. Wait. But you know what? He could have simply fired Mueller and said, okay, now we're going to declassify everything we need to declassify. But again, he needed this Durham probe. He needed William Barr and John Durham to just peel the layers of all of this. We already had the text messages from Peter Strzok saying, we'll stop Trump. You cannot say that they were not after Trump if you have text messages from one of the lead investigators saying, we will stop Trump. And then the IG report says, well, we didn't find any systemic bias. We didn't find any prosecutorial bias with Clinton. The prosecutors weren't given the information as to how Clinton transferred the top secret intelligence, was able to store it, was able to receive it in an inbox on a BlackBerry cell phone in late 2009 or 2010, 2011, flying to Russia and China. Clinton flew and met with well over 100 diplomats in 100 different countries. I explained this in Butter Top Secret emails and Butter deleted emails on Amazon. If you have Kindle, check them out. They're below in the description section. You cannot, ladies and gentlemen, say that the entire planet didn't hack into Clinton's servers because she was flying everywhere with private servers. Everything she received from the United States government went to her cell phone as she was flying throughout the world. So she went through servers as she was flying throughout the world. Let's read this. Justice Department declines to support blocking Hillary Clinton deposition. Far from being political retribution, the move, which came as a FOIA case related to Clinton's private server use, applied standard DOJ guidance. The Department of Justice has declined to join former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's effort to block depositions of both herself and a key aide in a case concerning her use of a private email server system to conduct Obama administration business. Though the DOJ's decision will inevitably be reported as political retribution against President Trump's 2016 election rival, don't you love how impeachment is never political retribution? The Steele dossier is never political retribution. The Mueller probe is never political retribution. James Comey leaking memos, classified, by the way, is never political retribution. But when anything happens against anyone that opposes Trump, it's political retribution. Oh, my God. They don't apply the same standards of behavior. That when they accuse Trump, they're guilty tenfold. But they don't apply the same standards of behavior. Because this is a groupthink. It's like, look, this is high school. You and I, we're not in the cool crowd. The cool crowd is the MSNBC, CNN, the Washington Post, the New York Times. We know we're cooler, we know we're better, but we're not technically in the cool crowd. So we're looking and we're seeing what all of these, all of the most popular kids at school are doing, and we know that what they're doing is wrong, what they're doing is hypocritical, disingenuous, and we know that at the end of the day, we'd rather be us than them. But they live in their own world, where actual crimes are not that big of a deal, but fabricated crimes are a huge deal. So, though the DOJ's decision will inevitably be reported as political retribution, there's actually nothing much here. The Trump State and Justice Departments have defended the former secretary throughout the suit in question. The government's refusal to support Clinton's latest gambit to avoid answering questions under oath is consistent with Justice Department policy and will have no bearing on the outcome of the case. Well, it'll have a lot of bearing because they won't be protecting Madam Secretary. So that's a big issue. Now, when Madam Secretary goes into deposition mode, why did you set up the server? Well, I was told that it was a good way of whatever, did you know that there would be a FOIA request issue? I was told that it wouldn't be an issue. Did you know though? It was my understanding. She's going to circumvent everything. Okay. And then you're going to get Brian Pagliano eventually, and Reddit Stone Tier and Cooper and all these people who helped set up or had something to do with Clinton's, patchwork server system running on Microsoft Exchange software. This is 2009 and 2010. Do you think, by the way, that President Obama wanted Clinton as Secretary of State? Christopher Hitchens has an amazing segment on MSNBC. No, he didn't. President Obama did not want Clinton. Did not want Clinton. Did not want Clinton as Secretary of State. Clinton stated that first of all, if you look at like an old interview, she didn't even care about, she didn't care about party unity. Did you know this? Unity! The whole party unity nonsense is simply a way to mask what's really going on. When President Obama endorses Biden, when Bernie endorses Biden, they know very well that Biden's not going to be nominee. It's an elaborate charade. It's so overt and it's in your face. It's so easy to get. The party is supposed to be unified. And once the party is unified, then Biden jumps into the reflecting pool outside the Lincoln Memorial without clothes on, and we get a wonderful, enjoy the visual, and we get a wonderful reason to find somebody else. Oh, how about the first female president? Don't you want a female president? It's been 100 years since women can vote. Don't you want that? Well, who do we have? Yeah, Madam Secretary, but let's continue here. The depositions of Clinton and Cheryl Mills, Clinton's State Department Chief of Staff and longtime confidant, were ordered by federal Judge Royce Lamberth of the District of Columbia. The case is a Freedom of Information Act suit brought by Judicial Watch. One of the heroes in American politics, ladies and gentlemen, is Tom Fitton and the people who work at Judicial Watch. There are heroes, ladies and gentlemen. Assange is a hero. Tom Fitton is a hero. Let's continue. The case is a Freedom of Information Act suit brought by Judicial Watch, the private watchdog group. It focuses on talking points. And I would say President Trump is a hero, considering that he's the only politician capable of fighting back against an overtly corrupt system. Exactly. Muley, he did, yes. It focuses on talking points the Obama administration generated to guide official public statements following the 2012. Okay. In District Court, Clinton was ordered to respond to interrogatories. As the National Law Journal reports, Judge Lamberth became frustrated by her performance. The court has considered numerous times in which Secretary Clinton said she could not recall or remember certain details of her prior interrogatory answers. In a deposition, it is more likely that plaintiff's counsel could use documents and other testimony to attempt to refresh her recollection. The court agrees with Judicial Watch. It is time to hear directly from Secretary Clinton. Lamberth concluded that Clinton's written answers about her email practice were either incomplete, unhelpful, or cursory at best. Simply put, her response left many more questions than answers. How about the truth of the matter is, you are referring to an individual who perhaps is probably the most conniving politician to ever exist in American history. Maybe that's the issue. Jimbo! IHA, will this lead to the DOJ reopening the case? I think eventually, After Clinton loses again, yes. I think after Clinton loses again, yes. Jimbo, thank you so very much, as always. I think that it's going to take, the political will takes place when media, at a certain point, media has to abandon ship. They're not going, they don't even like, no one likes Biden, they're not going with Biden, and the transfer from Biden to Hillary Clinton will be simple. It'll be simple, it'll be direct, it will be the biggest media adventure of all time. People will make a great deal of money, I will have made the biggest political call of all time, and I was consistent. I'm the only person. Steve Bannon did not say that she'll become nominee. He said, oh, she's going to run, or she could run. She could possibly run. I've been saying she's going to be nominee. Hillary, nominee. And I'm the only person saying this. But you have to have the political will in terms of media support. And that will take place. You will have people on the left begging for indictments. Look, Clinton is going to run again in large part. I don't usually give this reasoning, but Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, all of them owe their future to Clinton winning. If your life, if your future, whether or not you're going to prison, whether or not you're going to get indicted, whether or not you have to spend hundreds of thousands of legal fees, if you have to choose between Hillary Clinton being nominee or Joe Biden, who are you going to choose? Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, all of them. And Bill and Hillary, and the entire Democratic Party. Their future, not just in terms of a political sense, in terms of a legal sense, and in some cases, in terms of incarceration, in some cases, I'm not talking about Clinton. I think she'll eventually get indicted, but I don't think she'll ever see a jail cell, ever. I think, if anything, President Trump will eventually pardon her. I think that's what could possibly take place. But anyway, if your future rests upon Joe Biden, would you trust Biden for anything? Biden had to pretend to be one fry short of a Happy Meal. At his best, he's not, extremely lucid, but this whole thing has been an act. Luke St. Martin, Eric H526, thank you. If you had to, ladies and gentlemen, if your future rested in Joe Biden's hands, oh my God. Hey, Simone, look at my hands. If your political future rested in the hands of Joe Biden, Teresa King, Madam Secretary, is legend in her own way, in a bad way. I can't wait till Teresa King, thank you. Thank you. Teresa King, thank you as always. Ladies and gentlemen, let's continue. But yes, the legendary status it's true, but you can't look. You look at people throughout history who have unlimited influence, power, political. They don't stop. If you, ladies and gentlemen, got 65 million votes, are you going to allow somebody who didn't even get past, not even 1% in Iowa, he got 0.08% in Iowa in 08. Biden is not electable. He's not a viable candidate. Just because you defeated Bernie Sanders doesn't mean you're a viable candidate. Bernie Sanders in 2 seconds endorsed Biden, who doesn't want Medicare for all. Then you get a letter from these groups that are part of the reason he failed. And then they say, well, you have to earn our vote. They'll vote for Biden no matter what. What do you think he's going to say? Oh, yeah, whatever you say, whatever you say, I'll do. Come on now, people now. Come on, smile on your brother. Smile on your brother, everybody. Come together and try to love one another. I'm running for Senate. This is the biggest charade. This is the biggest charade in American political history. But here, Lamberth concluded that Clinton's written answers about her email practice were incomplete, unhelpful, or cursory at best. Simply put, her responses left many more questions than answers. Thus, on March 2nd, he ordered the deposition of Clinton and Mills. Rather than submit, Clinton's longtime counsel decided to seek an extraordinary remedy in the U.S. Court of Appeals. A writ of mandamus directed Lamberth to vacate his order. In FOIA cases, discovery is rarely granted regarding internal government deliberations. It is even more unusual for depositions of president and former high-ranking government officials to be ordered. Consequently, the Justice Department recounts in a submission recently filed. The State Department joined with Clinton's counsel in opposing discovery orders through litigation. The DOJ took the position that the only relevant questions were whether the State Department had conducted an adequate search for records that should be disclosed under FOIA, and B, whether it had produced those records. It argued with due zeal that the answers to both questions was yes. It further defended itself from the State Department from allegations of bad faith, contending, for example, that when it became aware of Clinton's emails, it notified Judicial Watch before emails became public knowledge. But they knew. Given the record of support, Clinton's legal team obviously hoped the Trump administration would join the mandamus petition. When it took no position, the D.C. Circuit Court ordered DOJ to advise the court on where it stood. So the Justice Department explained that while it continues to argue that it was wrong for the lower court to issue discovery orders, including depositions, these errors do not create the kind of dire harm a writ of mandamus is meant to address. This is the default position, Justice Department position in these matters. Secretary Clinton is not being singled out. Clearly, if the Justice Department had believed this was warranted, it would have filed a petition, but mandamus is a remedy reserved for egregious errors and abuse of discretion. Okay. On that score, DOJ observes that Clinton's case does not involve the usual situation in which discovery from a former cabinet official was sought, quote, for the impermissible purpose of probing internal government decision-making, regarding official policy. It was not official policy. President Obama did not even know. The State Department did not even... apparently, the State Department had no access to Clinton's servers. President Obama did not even know. And she broke rules and guidelines. And James Comey and Strzok and McCabe and Kleinsmith and all these other people did not explain how Clinton was able to obtain within her inbox top secret and special access program intelligence. It's a simple question. Democrats do not want to answer that question. They simply say, well, who cares? It doesn't matter. It does matter. See, the difference between Democrats and Republicans or Democrats and Trump supporters in this day and age is not a difference of policy. It is, but the real difference is a huge, wide disparity between acknowledging criminal acts and disregarding criminal acts. They do not acknowledge that Clinton committed a crime because they don't believe that anything could have been unethical or unlawful. They don't believe that it's even possible, and they don't care if it is. They also don't care if it is because when they get caught, they say, well, that's just playing the game. If it's Trump, it's, oh my God, how could you do this? But when they get caught, it's, well, you know. What she's done is both unlawful and illegal. Okay? You cannot transfer top secret intelligence. What Comey did was create a myth saying, well, there was no intent. Of course there was intent. Of course there was intent. You intentionally use a private server. You don't unintentionally set up servers. Just like you wouldn't unintentionally set up a tunnel. Just like you wouldn't unintentionally buy a safe. You don't unintentionally do things that are meant for a specific purpose. So when they say there's no intent to hide, of course there was intent to hide. That's why you would use. If it was truly about convenience, then you would also have to prove how it's more convenient to use a private server, which it's not. It's not more convenient. And they didn't delete emails. See, with Democrats, it's like, oh, okay. Imagine if William Barr met with Trump on a plane to speak about golf, Brexit, and grandchildren. You better believe the petulant imbeciles would make a big deal about it. But they don't. They don't regarding Madam Secretary. But here, instead, the unique question presented whether is a former official's unusual decision to use a private email server to systematically conduct large volumes of official business has had an impact on the government's duty to comply with FOIA. Well, of course it has. But that's not just... See, the government is so hilarious. Even President Trump's administration cannot admit that there was an overt attempt at hiding communication. Because it happened in government, there's this reverence. There's this, reverence. They can't simply admit, okay, this is what happened. They can't simply admit that. They have to say, gosh, do you think it might have hampered FOIA requests? I mean, nobody is suggesting that Clinton would use servers to hide communication. I mean, nobody would suggest that. That would be bizarre. Why would you even suggest that? Oh, because we know that President Obama's administration, from Eric Holder being held in contempt of Congress, by 17 Democrats voting as well, to a failed NATO intervention, to 4 years of servers. We could never believe that. Generally speaking, moreover, the Justice Department's practice manual admonishes government lawyers that a mandamus is highly unusual and should only be used in exceptional circumstances. Don't you love how they're like, oh my God, you could never. And so with Trump, they're like, we're going to get you after you've left office. But with this, it's like, oh, this is so unusual. Yeah, because the entire planet, according to Robert Gates and Michael Hayden, it is almost certain the entire planet hacked into her servers. And they still voted for her. Michael Hayden is an intelligence chief under President Obama. He voted for Clinton after saying the entire world almost certainly hacked into her servers. It defies logic. All of it defies logic. Your whole point as an intelligence agent or chief is to keep secrets secret. You have the biggest cybersecurity debacle of all time. Nobody cares about it. That's another thing I obsessed over that nobody cared about. Very few people. I mean, yes, you and I do, but the media didn't because it is an Achilles heel. And when I brought it up, people on the left were like, "Oh, you sound like a Republican." That's why the Democratic Party always cheats and steamrolls and bullies the left, because there's a limit to what they can talk about. Oh, you don't want to talk about Burisma. That's a Republican thing. And then you see Bernie Sanders, the guy folded. Oh my God, he couldn't even say, "Hey, wait a second, there was an app utilized against me in Iowa." And then the only thing the only way that they lashed out is calling the guy who won Iowa, "Oh, he looks like a rat. Oh, he's a rat boy. Oh, he looks like a rat." It's like I said, that's not going to help you at all. That is not going to help you at all. But I'm not on social media, thank God. Well, I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Facebook. So, eventually, it goes on to say, The most notable thing about the case is the extreme length to which Hillary Clinton is going to avoid answering questions under oath about her email practice, a matter on which she has made a slew of contradictory public statements, some of them proven untrue by the FBI's criminal investigation. Yeah, right. Well, barely an investigation. The Justice Department's decision to take a pass on her latest maneuvering is an unremarkable application of standard DOJ guidance, and it will make no difference to the appellate court's resolution of the case. I mean, the huge deal regarding this Andrew McCarthy's amazing. The huge deal regarding this, ladies and gentlemen, is that now Clinton will have to be under oath. And anything she says can be contradicted by what? Public record knowledge. Public record sources. FBI, the FBI vault, the FBI saw, information they gathered. Comey has the goods on Clinton and Clapper and Brennan. Comey has the goods. That's why he's so smug, and he's so megalomaniacal, because he realizes that they're not really. They can't. He thinks that they can't get him because he has the goods on everyone. Maybe he's right, but maybe he's right. Maybe he's right, but the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, you get Clinton under oath. You get either Clinton under oath. It's not a good thing, because the wicked web, when they want to deceive, that wicked web is very difficult to. Very difficult to continue. I see one of my wonderful fake Twitter profile that's breaking the law, trying to impersonate me, used one of my photos. Wow. Just one more thing I tell my attorney. Interesting. Anyway, when Clinton becomes nominee, just one more thing I tell Twitter too. When Clinton becomes nominee, it is going to be so awesome, because the best part of all of this is the fact that people can't possibly imagine. They can't possibly imagine this taking place. They can't possibly imagine it taking place. And so when it does, it won't only be a shock, or people won't only be stunned, they'll slowly be acclimated to it. Because did you think that Bernie would endorse Biden in April? Oh, well, we didn't know that this would happen, this crisis. Okay, well, there's a lot of things that could take place. The way they work is they have 10, 12 different scenarios that they're ready for. Their plans are not set in stone. It's pretty much fluid. The only thing that's set in stone is Clinton's going to be nominee. But they've seen the Electoral College. If Clinton wins Pennsylvania, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Maine, and you keep everything else in place from 2016, Trump wins Florida, Michigan, Ohio, it's 269, and then the House of Representatives gives it to Clinton. So, I mean, you got to understand, ladies and gentlemen. You got to understand. This is not a situation where they haven't this isn't a situation where they haven't thought about this endlessly. This isn't a situation where they haven't said, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to get this done? It's really simple. They started with 30 people. They started with 30 candidates. Okay. They started with 30 candidates, and they just narrowed it down to 2, and that was a joke because Bernie had no intention of fighting to the end. He got pressured. It took maybe 3 weeks of severe pressure. Then they say, oh my God, you're costing people's lives. And actually, he probably should have simply dropped out before Wisconsin, but hundreds of thousands of people showed up. And you have a situation where they were stuck in the rain voting during a pandemic. Trace! Ludderinger, Trace, thank you! Hope everything is well. HA, funny how my liberal coworkers blame Trump for the virus being so bad, but but can't explain to me why his predecessor made us dependent on China for medicine. Exactly. And also, Trace, depending on what state you are, look at Cuomo. Cuomo wrote on March 1st. On March 1st. Okay? He wrote, the risk remains low. He wrote this. There is no reason for undue anxiety. The general risk remains low in New York. I mean, it's pretty unbelievable. There's no reason for undue anxiety. The general risk remains low in New York. Then you have Eric Swalwell saying stop wearing masks on March 3rd. So it's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. I mean, you're talking about a situation where they dropped the ball on this law, and this is interesting. Now they're saying, well, you can't. Trump doesn't have the authority to tell people to open up their states, but he has the authority to tell people that they should accept masks, or they should increase budgets to buy masks, because each state has a different requirement in terms of the masks and the ventilators they need. So is Trump supposed to actually look at each state and decide for the governors themselves what they need in terms of medical supplies and equipment? Trace, thank you. I mean, Trace, you simply say, free Assange, thank you. Trump 2020, yes. You just simply say, Trace, to your coworkers, look what on March 1st, what was on March 1st, you just ask yourself, what was Andrew Cuomo saying? What was Andrew Cuomo saying? What was Andrew Cuomo saying? Go look at the statistics. Trace, you can go look at the statistics. New York has more cases combined and lives lost than all of South America and all of Africa. Two continents. Just, I'm not making that up. At this point on April 14th, 2020. I'm not making that up. Trace! Biden will will 100% lose to Hillbot. Exactly. That is true. Trace, thank you. That is definitely true. It will be absolutely amazing. It will be absolutely amazing when you look at what Flying Fox Fruits, Barnhill Farms and Nursery, Himalayan Red Mulberry. Sounds good. Thank you, Flying Fox Fruits. Trace Lettinger. He will, and it'll be a sight to behold, ladies and gentlemen. It'll be a sight to behold. I'm just waiting. It's going to be very interesting. It'll be very interesting to... And I have to get my website up. I'm redoing my website, but it's been taking a long time just with everything going on. Got to get my website up. Hopefully I can get it up before Clinton announces or Clinton becomes nominee. I think I will. Ferris Bueller, Trace. Thank you very much, Trace. Just tell your coworkers about Andrew Cuomo's tweet, March 1st. And the fact that New York itself, and God bless the people of New York, but they were done wrong by the Democrats that run New York. Big time. New York itself has more cases and lives lost than South America and Africa combined. That is a fact. As of April 14, 2020. Ferris Bueller! Yes, one of the great movies ever. President O knew about Hillbot. Exactly, of course. He definitely did. Madam knows where all the... You'll get it away. Pretty much. I agree with you, Ferris. Bueller. Flying Fox Fruits, Jaboticaba. Rare fruit, yes. Flying Fox Fruits. If anybody wants Jaboticaba, Flying Fox Fruits has it. Ferris Bueller. That's one of the great one of the great movies of all time. Bueller. Oh, my goodness. Look, I'm not thrilled at it either. You're going to have to hear me every single day until the nomination, until August, saying the same thing. My God almighty, the same thing. Let's just look, the centennial. Let's just look at this right here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just look at this right here. Oh my goodness. The 19th Amendment centennial. Yeah, they're going to go with Biden, right? They just consolidated and they unified They unified the party. Notice how long it took to unify Bernie's base. About a second. Very few Bernie or bust. And I want to know, the hardcore Bernie pundits, they have 600,000-700,000 subs. I want to know if they go from being never Biden to pro-Clinton or to voting for Clinton. I want to know this. I really want to know this. I really, really, really want to know this. So here. Centennial 19th Amendment. All right, so American Bar Association. This is mostly liberals. the anniversary of the 19th Amendment, the centennial anniversary of the 19th Amendment gives state and local bar associations, other legal professions, 20 years. Hold on, let me see if the Democrats. Hold on. Centennial 19th Amendment, Democratic congressional. Let's see. Women's Suffrage Centennial. Commemorate the Women's Suffrage Centennial in D.C. Let's see. Democratic National Committee. I just want to see if they're... Centennial. Okay, so... Let's see. The centennial of 19th Amendment is on the weekend of the convention in August. Okay? Women's Suffrage Centennial. League of Women Voters. The Hill, the Women's Equality Day. Okay. So, they're talking about the centennial of the 19th Amendment. There's like 1 million different celebrations and all this. What better way? Democratic Convention. What better way than to nominate the first, to get the first female president? You had a chance in 2016. Let's get it done again in 2020. Come on, everyone. Let's see. Flying Fox Fruits. Hilaire Catava, rare politician. It's interesting. It'll be interesting. Let's see. Let's look for I'm still with her on Twitter. I'm still with her. Joe Biden is building the coalition I had. Okay. Mark Cuban won't roll out a 2020 run for president. So much can change. Okay. So it's not. He'd run as a Democrat. He'd run as a Democrat, right? Yeah, I'm sure he'd run as a Democrat. It is going to be very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, the computer. The great thing is that the people who don't like my vantage point are obsessed with me, which is so hilarious. And just like with President Trump, the obsession isn't going to lead to a good outcome. Because when Clinton does run, they're not going to look very good. It's going to be hilarious. Let's just look really quickly. Women's suffrage. Let's see. 19th Amendment. Centennial. Okay. United States Senate. American Bar Association. The problem with the year of celebrating the 19th, the problem with the year of celebrating the 19th Amendment, our entire understanding of the history of Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. Subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel. I will have a segment up in about 20 minutes or so. So check out that channel. And Eric H526, you're right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you to my super chat. Thank you so much. And I will be back, of course, tomorrow. People, thanks for everything. I will see you very soon. And subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel right now. I'll have a segment up in about 20 minutes. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, everyone. Trace, to my super chat, thank you again.